on? It's Taylor, back with Fourth and Long, and this, of course,
Quentin Brandt.
You know it. So, Quentin, let's dive in. It's headlines.
Let's do it.
So, more NFL London games. Now, I never know how I feel when it comes to NFL London games. Like, they always pack Wembley, and it's always nice to see the NFL go international and to see support. Mm-hmm. But it always brings me back to the topic of London wants an NFL team. I don't think it works out logistically. Like, they're like, what, 6 hours ahead of us?
Yeah, there's something along those lines. I mean, it is kind of nice waking up at 9 o'clock in the morning. There's already a game on,
right?
But it's kind of embarrassing for the people of London to think Blake Bortles, who had a heck of a game in London, is the best quarterback alive.
Right.
And to go along with that is for them to even have like an actual football team is going to have to be like a whole entire like Europe league.
Right. Yeah. There's just no way you could have a team leave London, on a Saturday night and then go play in like LA.
Oh yeah.
It's just impossible.
Yeah,
it would.
You got jet lag and everything.
Right, and they'd maybe land a couple hours before kickoff.
Yeah.
And that's just not. You just can't do that. It's just, it wouldn't work out. I still think the NFL games in London are nice. I'd even like to see them maybe try in a different country, maybe like Germany.
Yeah, I think Germany would work out really well actually. Even France. Paris is is a big city. You might be surprised.
Right.
I mean, they might not understand the rules quite as well, but I think though, if you do go to like a country like Germany or France, you have to get like some sort of officials that can speak that language.
Right.
To help them actually understand what's going on.
For sure. Well, let's continue on these headlines. Bad news for Raider fans. Derek Carr injured again. Mm-hmm. It doesn't sound like it's too serious back spasms of the report just of about 5 minutes ago. It's not the worst news, but if you're the Raiders, it's not good news.
No, I want to say a huge blow to the team. We saw it last year when he got hurt. Those last 2-3 games, they just fell apart. They lost to the division to Kansas City, and then ultimately lost in the first round on the road to Houston. And to be honest with you, they were my front runners to win the AFC that year because they were outstanding. And it's really just going to depend on how long it takes him to get healthy. I think he's probably one of the better up-and-coming quarterbacks out there. And I know it's just not good to see someone with his caliber go down.
For sure, yeah. Derek Carr was one of those guys who, when he's in your team, when he's in the starting lineup per se, I mean, he took that Raiders team to a different level. Mm-hmm. They were an offensive juggernaut. Mm-hmm. Michael Crabtree actually could catch passes thrown by Derek Carr.
Yep.
And yeah, they were just embarrassed in the playoffs after he went out. And the Raiders are going to need him back if they want any chance to continue to, win the division or go to the playoffs.
Yep.
Kind of staying in California, the Rams.
The Rams are surprisingly doing really well out in Los Angeles. Maybe it's that warm Cali weather. I don't know. But, obviously San Diego's not helping them at all. They can't fill a soccer stadium.
Right.
And, it's just, if you would have asked me at the beginning of the year how well I thought the Rams were going to do, I wouldn't even say they're going to be 500 right now.
Right. Yeah, they went with... Last year, they were a team full of players who could barely get on the field. They were incompetent. They were an incompetent football team. And now, I mean, they look like a halfway decent NFL team, which hasn't been the case for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think it really has helped that Goff has, matured a little bit. I think he's gotten a little bit more help back there. Todd Gurley's really healthy. So I think it's finally starting to come, around for them, and it's going to be interesting to see how that division shakes up. For
sure. I think the Rams could even win that division. That division's so bad.
It's definitely one more inconsistent because, 49ers aren't really doing anything this year. Cardinals, David Johnson's hurt, and then the pass game is mediocre.
Right.
And with Seattle, I mean, their Legion of Boom is pretty much gone.
Right.
And
they don't have an offensive line.
They don't have an offensive line. Russell Wilson's constantly on his back. I think he leads the league in hits and sacks right now, which is really bad.
Right. I think Seattle played Sunday night, which I think it would be a week from after this is aired. He leads the NFL. He only has like 2.2 seconds between getting the ball and getting hit. That's awful.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard for a quarterback to read that, especially when the play has to develop downfield. I mean, he's going to have a defender in his face every time he's throwing it then.
Yeah. Well, last headline, we go back to more injury news. Viking fans won't like to hear this. Dalvin Cook has completely torn his ACL. I guess there goes my Rookie of the Year pick.
Yeah, I mean, he was having a really good year. I mean, he was actually ahead of Adrian Peterson's record, and I think, it's going to be really hard for Minnesota moving forward without him. I mean, I think they still have some, pretty talented guy, but Case Keenum, still kind of a question mark. How good is he actually right now?
Right.
So it's going to be, interesting, something to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's move on to a little game, kind of a discussion. The most overrated offensive and defensive players in the league. Now, the NFL is full of great players like Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, Antonio Brown. But there's a lot of guys who are rated high who really aren't that good. So, Quentin, who's your most overrated offensive player?
My most overrated offensive player is Eli Manning. He has his touchdown interception ratio is below 1.5. It's 1.48. It's embarrassing to be an elite quarterback. He has 2 Super Bowls. He was carried by a defense and got out of a Super Bowl with 2, honestly stupid catches that really saved him and saved that team to keep winning. And I honestly think that the Giants need to start looking for a new quarterback in the draft.
For sure. Mine is it's Joe Flacco. Mm-hmm. And not only is Joe Flacco overpaid, he got an absurd contract, but where did we get the idea that Joe Flacco is an elite quarterback? Where did this come from? Did Joe Flacco make it up himself? Because, okay, he won a Super Bowl, yes. The defense carried it. Mm-hmm. Classic Ravens team. Defense carried it. Yep. The offense was mediocre. He's never been to a Pro Bowl. Mm-hmm. I know that's kind of a meaningless stat, but come on.
I mean, even to be nominated to be a Pro Bowl still.
And here's the really damaging stat for Joe Flacco. He has an average passer rating of 84.5. Last year in the NFL, there were 15 quarterbacks ahead of him, including Ryan Fitzpatrick.
That's embarrassing.
How is this guy considered elite?
He's not elite in my book. I honestly totally agree with you. Anytime I ever hear Joe Flacco is a top 2-3 quarterback, it makes me want to vomit, really.
Right?
Because he's not.
No, he's mediocre at best.
Yeah.
All right, what about defense, Quentin?
Defense is Josh Norman. He's really only had 2-3 decent years, and he gets burnt a lot. I mean, he likes to talk trash, which is like Dez and everything, but let's be honest, Dez is going downhill. He's not the receiver he used to be. And, I've seen multiple times where he's gotten burned downfield. And, he's just really overpaid, too.
Sure. My defensive player is a defensive back as well, Joe Hayden. Now, I know maybe some of us feel sorry for Joe Hayden because he played the majority of his career for the Browns. And it's going to be hard to be a good player when you play for the Browns. But just like Flacco and even guys like Josh Norman, overpaid, getting an absurd amount of money for the stats he puts up. He had one good season, which was his rookie season. Mm-hmm. And in 2015, receivers who were covered by him, the quarterbacks throwing the balls to those receivers, had a passer rating of 158.2.
Wow. That is really sad.
That's a stat that might go under the radar a little bit, but that's absurd.
That is.
They're almost catching every pass that's thrown, that Hayden's covering them. So, yeah, that's crazy. Well, did we miss anybody? Name that pops up in my mind, Clay Matthews.
Oh, yeah. I think he's only had, one good year.
Right.
That defense is, decently good, but he's not the best one on it. I mean, there's a lot of other linebackers that I personally think that are better than him. It's just that he plays for Green Bay, and people, like to coddle Green Bay.
Right.
We see that with Rodgers and everything too, which is an entirely different subject.
Right.
But yeah.
A topic for another show.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's time for a discussion point, and last week's discussion point was pretty tame. Pretty much agreed. We have a discussion point this week that is going to be far from tame and far from agreeable. Is Drew Brees an elite quarterback? Quentin, I will let you start.
He's not. He is honestly really overrated. Since his Super Bowl win, he's only won 2 playoff games. They're both wild cards. And then he's like lost in the wild card. He hasn't made it to the playoffs multiple years. His average win percentage since that season is just over 500. And I know you can claim he's on a bad team. It doesn't, but if you want to be an elite quarterback, you can carry defenses. Tom Brady does it. There's other quarterbacks that have done it, and Peyton Manning has done it. So, yeah.
Okay. Drew Brees is on a bad team. He's on a very bad team. That Saints defense is awful. It's so awful, you got to think of a new word because awful it's not even a word that accurately describes it. I'm going to borrow a quote here from Shaq. It's so bad, it's awful. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's so bad. I know there are high school teams who could probably play better defense than that Saints defense. Bama's defense is probably better.
Bama pays athletes.
That's besides the point here. All right, here's some cold hard facts. The last 3 seasons, Drew Brees has had 5,208 passing yards, 4,870, 4,952.
That doesn't matter when you throw the ball 40-plus times a game.
He has to. They don't have a running game.
Exactly. He throws the ball 40 times plus a game downfield. They're going to connect.
That I think those numbers and his win percentage is around 500. I think that's impressive for a guy who knows he has to throw the ball every time.
No.
He has 102 touchdowns in the last 3 years.
Again, because he throws the ball 40 to 50 times a game.
He has to, and I think that's impressive because
he's on a spread team, so they're going to throw the ball a lot. That's Sean Payton's offense.
Yeah, but you got to mix in the run sometime, and he knows that run game's going to be mediocre at best.
Yes, the run game isn't mediocre. Adrian Peterson is a mediocre running back. That still does not mean Drew Brees is an elite quarterback because he has those stats. If I threw the ball 40 times a game and I connected on 20 of them and had my receivers run 40 yards every time, I would lead the league in rushing and not rushing passing.
I think he's an elite quarterback, and here's the stat that stands out to me. Number 3 all-time in TD passes.
How many years has he been in the league?
Probably, 12, 13 maybe?
Yeah, and majority of those years, the NFL has turned into a passing league. The NFL has shied away from running the ball. Running backs are becoming obsolete. You don't need a running back to win games.
I still think if you put up those numbers, that makes you an elite quarterback.
No. He throws the ball too many times a game.
That's the trend, though.
Yes, but here's not. Anyone that throws the ball that many times a game can put up those numbers. If you have a mediocre receiving core.
So you're telling me, like, Mark Sanchez, if he threw the ball 40 times a game, he could have 5,000 average passing yards in a season?
Probably.
No.
Yeah, Cole Jansky could probably even do it.
You're telling me that butt fumble, Mr. Butt Fumble, Mark Sanchez.
Yeah, Mr. Butt Fumble that beat the Patriots in the playoffs.
That's irrelevant. That is irrelevant here.
You're irrelevant.
You're irrelevant. Okay, moving on. Time for the final drive. And we're going to predict an upset this week. So who on this week 4 NFL schedule, or week 5, who's going to upset somebody?
I'm calling that the Bears are going to beat the Vikings on Monday night. They announced Mike Trubisky's finally going to start because, Mike Lennon is trash and will always be trash. And I think he has finally, got his chance to, become the future for the Bears. I mean, it's going to also just determine how well that offensive line can hold up to.
Right. I know before the show you questioned if mine was even an upset. I'm going to say it is. The Browns over the Jets. You heard it here first. The Browns are going to do it. The Jets are mediocre. The Browns are going to do it. The Jets have
Browns are mediocre.
Exactly. It's a matchup of mediocre. It's like a mediocre bowl. The Browns have a decent offense. Deshaun Kaiser's, The Jets don't have a very good defense. They're going to do it this week.
The Browns' best player is an offensive lineman.
Well, that means Kaiser should be upright.
On one side.
Well, yeah, he can scramble, though. He likes to run. The Browns are going to do it. You heard it here first. And when they didn't do it because they're the Browns, you can tell me how wrong I was. All right, Quentin, Idiot of the Week.
Idiot of the Week, sadly, it's going to go out for my boy Matt Ryan. Trying to run out in that Wildcat formation, tripping and falling. Got that turf monster sniper happen.
Yep.
It's just kind of funny because you don't really see that often, especially at the professional level.
Right. Mine's going to be the LA Rams. Now, we just complimented them at the beginning of the show, and they got a win over Dallas.
Yes.
They got to win over Dallas.
Dallas.
In Dallas. Now, that's impressive. Now, there is nothing that could spoil that, right? The Rams came out wearing mismatched uniforms and helmets.
They're wearing the old LA helmets with their, St. Louis jerseys.
Right. They had the helmet with the white Ram horn, but the old, you could say, old St. Louis Ram jersey. Now, why?
Budget cuts?
Evidently budget cuts. Now, yeah, the Rams. Well, hopefully LA can find some matching jerseys. Hopefully we can settle this Brees argument.
Hopefully, the Chargers go back to somewhere else besides LA.
That too. All right, well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all the whole 9 yards.
Yep.
Get it? Get the whole 9
whole
yards?
9
Whole 9
yards.
yards football show. All right. Well, until next time, stay safe. Remember, feathers up.